Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. I am Jamie Beth. Today is another story time and Friday. So we are going to talk about urban legends. And I'm going to tell you a handful of my favorite urban legends. Now, a typical urban legend has elements of mystery, horror, fear, and humor, and are often cautionary tales. There's also an element of paranormal or supernatural goings on in these stories. The teller of an urban legend usually claims that this happened to a friend or a friend of a friend, which tries to serve as a personalization or to authenticate or enhance the power of the narrative. Legends seem to be believable or provocative even, and that is how it entices you to pass these legends on to another person. First urban legend I'm going to tell you guys about is the one of black-eyed kids. So the urban legend talks about these kids that are supposed to be paranormal creatures that resemble children between the ages of 6 and 16 with pale skin and black eyes. So no white parts to their eyes. Their eyes are completely black. They are reported being seen hitchhiking or panhandling and are often encountered in residential neighborhoods. A dozen stories have been circulating with a very similar pattern. Kids with completely blacked out eyes appear at people's doorsteps, and they're very persistent about you letting them in your home, with stories of my parents are on their way, or I need to call my parents, but they're very, very persistent about you letting them inside their home. Demonologists have sometimes referenced that these children are children of the devil. So if you let them enter your home, you're bringing the devil into your life. The story that I've heard was one of an elderly couple receiving a knock at their door, and this was either very, very late at night or very early in the morning, but they received a knock, knock, knock on their door. And when opening their door, there was a little boy and a little girl standing there, and they mentioned, my parents are on their way, may we come into your home? The couple was very, very hesitant about letting these children into their home, but after a little bit they gave in and they allowed these children to enter their home. The wife offered to make them some hot chocolate while the husband asked some questions, although he wasn't really getting any answers to his questions. The woman then brought them their hot chocolate, and at that time they asked to use her bathroom. So she walked them over to the bathroom, and then I guess at that point she really got a good look at the children and noticed that their eyes were black as night. Oh, and it freaked her out a little bit. I mean, who wouldn't? It would freak me out. But, so anyways, she let them into the bathroom and went back to her husband, who was holding his face at that time because his nose was bleeding. Like all of a sudden, his nose started bleeding. So he lifted up his hands to show his wife, like, my nose is bleeding. And then he also mentioned, did you see their eyes? And the wife then responded, yes, they're black as night. And all of a sudden, the power goes out in their home. The children come walking out of the bathroom stating that their parents are here. So the wife goes to the door that is now wide open and sees two men standing at the end of their driveway. Well, she waves to them, kind of like, hey, you know, you're welcome type of thing, and these men just kind of ignore her, and the children leave with the men. After the children left their property, the lights went back on. Now, after the fact, after this incident happened, this husband and wife started having a bunch of bad luck. The husband kept having these consistent nosebleeds, finally going to the doctor and revealing that he has a very aggressive type of cancer. So it was determined that these strange happenings in their home and the husband having cancer was a result of letting these children into their home. So if you are awakened one night or hear a knock, knock, knock at your door, and you open the door to find two children who shouldn't be out at that time of night, look at their eyes. If they are black as night, shut that door as quickly as possible because you do not want to let them in your house. The next urban legend I'm going to tell you about is one of the backseat killer. I'm sure you've all heard this one. This story begins with a woman stopping at a gas station. This is a full service gas station, so the attendant comes out to pump her gas, and the attendant notices something strange about her vehicle. So when he takes the credit card, he kind of pretends that it doesn't work. So he wants her to get out of her car and come in. He's like, your credit card isn't working, something's not right, come inside. And she just thinks he's like a creep. She kind of ignores him and, you know, handles her stuff and drives away. After some time on the road, she notices a truck following her. And every now and then this truck would like speed up or try to like bump her car or flash his lights. And she was getting really nervous because she's like, what is going on? Why is this crazy person following me? Finally, she makes it home and jumps out of her car. This truck pulls up behind her as she's trying to get into her home. And it turns out that it's the gas station attendant. And he's yelling, call the police, there's someone in your back seat. So he noticed while he was pumping her gas that there was a man hunkered down in the back seat of her vehicle. And when she drove away because she didn't know that he was trying to like warn her, he decided to follow her. And every time the man in her back seat tried to overtake her, he would flash his lights or try to bump her car, and the guy would duck back down. So in fact, this man saved this woman's life by following her and keeping her from getting attacked by this terrible person in the back seat. What you need to take from this story is check your back seats. If you are getting into your back seat, it's nighttime, check that back seat for drivers. Ever since I've heard this story, I have always checked my back seats because I'm so afraid of someone being there. The next story I'm going to tell you guys about is the babysitter story. And I am sure a lot of you guys have heard of the babysitter story. This has been one that's been going around for a long time. I believe they even made some movies on it. So how this story goes is the babysitter is watching a couple kids. She puts them to bed and starts receiving these weird phone calls. And every time she answers the phone, the caller on the other end tells her to check the children. They're fine, they're okay, nothing's wrong with them. Although when she is upstairs each time, she notices this weird, creepy statue in the corner of their room. And she kind of passes this off as a weird like decoration that these people have in their home. So she goes back downstairs, continues to watch TV, and again receives another phone call telling her that you need to check the children. Now she's getting a little like perturbed about this. It's like, okay, so whoever this is, stop calling, stop pranking, just stop. Like, you know, the children are fine. You know, she knows the children are fine because she's checked on them multiple times. So she's just like, oh, someone is just messing with me. Finally, after a while, calls the police because she's just kind of tired of this happening. And asks the police, hey, can you check? I keep getting these weird phone calls. Can you like, check my phone line, which I do believe back in the day they were able to do that, like tap in and see who's calling you. But anyways, the story goes, the police finally call her back and tell her to leave the home immediately because the phone calls are coming from inside the house. The girl then decides to phone the parents to let them know that, you know, what is going on, what has happened, why there are police at her home right now. And she within the conversation, she mentions this creepy statue in the corner of the children's room. The mother then goes, "We don't have a statue in the corner of the children's room." Every time the babysitter went upstairs, noticed this thing in the corner of their children's room, it was in fact the guy that was calling her downstairs. So she was actually encountering the intruder every time she checked on the children. There are many different versions to the story. One is that the man had killed the children. Another one is the man killed the babysitter too. Another is the babysitter was able to get the children safely out of the house. You know, it depends on who's telling the story as to which ending they want. But this one actually does have multiple endings. I do like the one where the babysitter and the children are alive at the end of the story. But most of the time, for shock value, someone gets killed in these stories. So this next story is kind of gross and scary at the same time. It is called The Licked Hand. And I know like probably a lot of you have heard this one because this has been around for quite some time. I've heard this story many times, and every time it just freaks me out. It begins with a young girl that is left home alone, and her only companion is her dog. So she is home alone and is listening on the news about a killer that is loose in the neighborhood, so loose around her area. And she becomes terrified, of course, because she's home by herself and she's, you know, a young person. So she makes sure all the windows and doors are locked except for the one in her basement. So that one she forgot to lock. And she retires to her bedroom with her dog, who ends up sleeping under her bed, just to kind of give her a little more, you know, sense of safety. And she wakes up during the night hearing this dripping sound coming from her bathroom, which scares her. So she reaches down over the side of her bed to where her dog is, and she is met with a quick little lick, which you know, gives her a little reassurance that she's okay, everything's fine, got my dog here, I'm gonna go back to sleep. The next morning when she gets up to go use the restroom, she finds her dog's bloody body in the bathtub, and the drips that she was hearing was the blood dripping down from the tile. And on the wall of the bathroom it says, "Humans can lick too." So that always scared the living crap out of me. I had a situation happen to me when I was younger, with my hand hanging over the bed, and something happened and I didn't like it. If you guys want me to tell you some personal scary stories, I definitely can. I grew up in a home where weird things happened to my siblings and I, and we witnessed weird things that we can't explain. And so if you want to hear any of those stories, let me know in the comments below. And make sure you hit that subscribe button, because every other Friday I do these types of stories, and every other Wednesday I do more beauty and makeup and beauty advice type of stories. So if you guys want to hear more of these types of stories, or you want to hear my personal stories from my childhood growing up in a house I believe was haunted, let me know. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell next to it, and comment down below. Moving along is another terrifying story. This one I'm sure scares everyone, because I don't know if it could really happen. I don't think it could, but it almost sounds like it could, and that's what makes some of these urban legends so scary and fascinating at the same time. This next story is called The Red Spot or the Spider Bite. This story is about a young girl who is asleep at night and a spider crawls on her face, sits there for a few minutes, and then crawls away. The next morning, she notices a red mark on her cheek. She's like, oh, well, you know, it could just be like a blemish or whatnot. It keeps getting more irritated looking and more, it starts to create a round little bump on her face, and it's not looking good. It's looking like it's either like infected or something's going on, and she does not know what's going on. After a while, after this has been going on for some time, she's, you know, complaining to her mother, "Mom, it's getting bigger, look at it, it's like something's not right." And her mom is like, it's a blemish, it's coming to head. You know, it usually just takes a few days for this to go away. Finally, after quite some time, the mother took the daughter to a doctor because, you know, maybe it is infected, maybe something's going on, let's have it check out. But the doctor was not available until the next day. So they go home and the girl decides to take a nice warm bath to kind of like soothe her aching face. And while she's in the bath, the spot breaks open and all of these tiny little spiders come crawling out all over her face, everywhere. Oh my God, oh. Because what had really happened when that spider crawled on her face that one night is it laid eggs in her cheek. Could you imagine? Now I know while we're sleeping we probably have had spiders crawl on us and whatnot, but could you imagine one laying eggs in your face? I don't know if that could ever really happen, but what if it did? Like, that is so freaky. Oh my gosh, that scares the crap out of me. The last story I'm going to tell you is one that has been circulating in the state that I live in. Now, I have heard two versions of this story, and I'm going to tell you both versions. So the story that I'm going to tell you is about a street called Knock Knock Street. Now, the street isn't actually called Knock Knock Street. It's called Strasburg Street, and it's located in Detroit, Michigan. I don't know where in Detroit this street is. I have never visited the street. I've just heard the stories about it. In Detroit, like any major big city, there are some okay parts and then there are some really, really dangerous areas that you do not want to be driving around at night. Again, I don't know where this specific street is. And I've never been there. So I will tell you the neat little urban legend that surrounds this street. So Knock Knock Street. The story goes, it's 2 a.m. You're approaching a stop sign and you look around and notice that it is desolate and quiet everywhere. However, there is a small child standing on the sidewalk. Worry sets in because something just isn't right about this small child. For one, why is a small child out alone late at night? Look away for a moment, only startled seconds later by a knock knock on your driver's side window. You turn and there's a little girl standing right there, and then you can see her, at that time you see her up close and you can see the sad drawn look on her face, her shallow hollow eyes. She is in fact looking for the person that killed her. The story goes that someone struck her while driving and drove away, so she is desperately searching for the person that killed her. The other version of the story is that of a couple that were parked and they were, you know, doing what young couples do. Girlfriend then informed the boyfriend that, you know, nothing further is going to happen other than a few kisses or whatnot. The boyfriend got angry and pushed her out of the vehicle. Well, while being pushed out of the vehicle, the door shut on her hair and he ended up dragging her down the road and she ended up dying. So some say when you drive down the road, you will start hearing knock, 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 knock on either the side of your vehicle or underneath your vehicle, and that is the girl desperately trying to get your attention because she is reliving the final moments of her death. My older sister is the one who told me this story, and she told me that last version of it. And I do believe she said she might have even driven down that street. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask her, see if she remembers. But that is my personal little urban legend that is close to my home and that has been passed down between friends for years. Everybody around here is aware of Knock Knock Street, but I don't know too many people that have actually visited it, so I don't know. That's kind of where urban legends go. I hope you guys enjoyed my favorite urban legends. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and remember to hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already to be notified of all of my upcoming videos. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.